Hello, I'm live. I was doing some dusting in here, and it hit my camera. All right, hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. It's dark outside because we're getting later into the summer, and with stink and rot and daylight save time, you know what happens. It gets darker later because of stink and rot and daylight savings time. All right, so we have these two. I showed that in my screen capture. The Windsor and the Black Velvet Reserve. Windsor Canadian, introduced in 1880, now aged 3 years. Used to be 4 years, but now it's not. It's a Beam-Suntory brand. Did they drop the age when they took over? I don't know, maybe. Seems to me that they kind of, what do you say, cut corners, lowered the quality of different brands they own to try to make more money. You hate to say that though, but I get that impression. But anyway, it's no longer American owned, so I don't know, man. Now, this from 1991, introduced in exactly 1991, 40 years after the original Black Velvet, aged 8 years. This is a strange looking bottle, but it's used with other Canadian whiskey brands as well. Like I think Shenley Golden Wedding is part of this bottle design. So there's the intricate crest. Age 8 years, barrel aged in oak. Not remarkable because all Canadian whiskeys are barrel aged in oak, but I guess they figure most people don't really research it, so they don't know, so they touting it. Be like a beer, and they're saying made with grain. Black Velvet Reserve, blended Canadian whiskey, aged 8 years. Now the regular Black Velvet is only aged 5, so this is older, 5 years. I mean, only age 3. What am I saying? I meant to say it's 3, so it's 5 years older than the standard. But it's not much more expensive. I saw this at Dorgnac's on sale still for $10.99. So maybe that's maybe that's a perpetual sale. You know, one of those things like mypillow.com where it's always on sale. So the sale price is the regular price. They actually got in trouble with the Better Business Bureau, talking about the pillow company, because they said, well, you are scamming people because you're acting like, get it now while it's on sale, but it's always on sale. So they gave them an F. And they said, we don't care what you score us. We're making a lot of money. All right. I guess Dornax gets an F in checking dates. So does Winn-Dixie and pretty much every other store. Smooth and luxurious. I didn't notice that to be the case. Black Velvet Reserve is known for its silky taste and mellow character, age 8 years, and hand-selected oak barrels. Well, that makes sense because they do select the barrels at all these distilleries. Now, whether they hand select them, they might just say, give us this age, make an order. Is a premium sipping whiskey, whose distinctive flavor complements any occasion, like Dawnbusters. Oh man, a premium sipping whiskey. Let's see. Participants, me. Now you see something peculiar here. Everybody's been jumping the StreamYard for Hangouts because they've got it. Now here they're saying participants, and it's got me listed. Obviously, I'm participating. But the question is, since they give you this option, are they planning to, or is there some kind of way? I don't know. to add people? Or is it just part of live chat? I don't know. It's strange. I haven't even set up a live stream, a StreamYard or anything. I just been not doing Hangouts lately. Got been too busy anyway. All right, $10.99. You say, is that premium? Is that the price for premium? Well, for this one, $10.99 on sale. What does premium mean? Anything you want it to mean. It's a meaningless term. It's one of those marketing terms like craft. There's no legal definition for it. So you can go to court, you'll lose. Like people have sued companies like Coors. We're suing you because we bought Coors Banquet and no, Coors, their Blue Moon. Yeah, the Blue Moon. And it says Blue Moon Brewing Company, and you made it seem like it was a craft beer, and I found out it wasn't. It's owned by a major company. But then not realizing you can have an alias name. Companies are allowed to have an alias as long as it's registered with the government. Sazerac has like 40 of them. Secondly, craft is a meaningless marketing term. Even the Brewers Association has changed the definition over the years as they see fit. So people say, if you want to know what craft beer means, look up the Brewers Association. But then you might look it up every year and it'd be different qualifications for it. So it's you can't get too wrapped up in that. All right, like premium. Well, these two whiskeys are both gold. These two are golden. I don't need to say both because that's redundant. Two are both because it would be both if it's two, right? So appearance won't matter. But aroma and taste will. Will I be able to tell them apart? I think so, and I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why. Windsor tastes more like a flavored whiskey, you know, like it's got the flavorings, the sherry, the wine, the rum, whatever they're using, and at whatever percentage. And then the Black Velvet tastes more like a standard whiskey, like grain alcohol. But I don't see where the 8 years really helped it that much. Because what if you're using like humdrum products and you know what I mean? Like taking whiskeys that aren't that good to start with and you're aging them 8 years. So what you got? Old marginal stuff. Black Velvet's always talking about, we don't blend our whiskeys until, no, we blend our whiskeys before we age them because they say it helps them marry together. Other and most Canadian companies age all the whiskey separately and then they blend and then immediately bottle. Does it make a difference? Well, the whiskey companies claim that it does. I haven't noticed any difference, to tell you the truth, but it could be me not knowing what I'm doing tasting. There's always that chance. Yorn says, cheers, Ron. Cheers to you, Yorn. All right. I've had people tell me in comments before, who made you an expert? I said, I wasn't aware that I was an expert. I never made any claim to that effect. So it's funny that people would make a comment like that when I've never made any claim like that. Oh, it smells like corn. I finished off that Taco 100 vodka last night. I was thinking about it. You know, I was watching the replay of the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight, not the whole thing, but I was watching it. And that was making me think a lot. But I was sipping on that Taco 100 and I was thinking to myself, people say a lot of bad things about Taco. Maybe it's deserved. I don't think it is deserved. I just think their price point invites attacks. You see some, but I was thinking about that. I said, you know, this does have a lot of character. And I was drinking it straight, no ice or anything. And I had it in the freezer. But I said, people will say, all vodka tastes the same. It's all the same, you know. But I'm not buying into that. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not a vodka person. I mean, if I never had another taste of vodka the rest of my life, I'd be delighted. You know, it wouldn't matter to me. Oh, I wouldn't care. Same with gin. I mean, I'll taste it, but I don't miss it. Like my daughter likes gin, and there's a whole gin culture in England, especially like gin bars and all this, but it's just not my thing. But it would be like saying that all gin tastes the same. Come on, man. No. And some people will say all Canadian whiskey tastes the same. It doesn't taste the same. There's no way it all tastes the same. That's a joke. Now, when people say stuff like Canadian whiskey tends to be rather bland, or they'll make a blanket statement. Canadian whiskey is bland, but a more accurate way to say it would be Canadian whiskey in general is a good deal or blander than other whiskeys, you know, other types of whiskey styles. Relative to other whiskey styles, that would be a more accurate. That's grain corn. It's like sweet corn, really. You know, you ever had a can of sweet corn or got sweet corn off the cob? That's what it smells like. Without salt, of course. This one smells somewhat like that, but this one is more what you call it, beeswax or a honeycomb. And that's what, like a flavoring type. And so that makes me think that's the Windsor. Oh, but you got that grain alcohol underneath. Canadian whiskey is mostly, I'm talking about blended, which most Canadian whiskey is blended. It's mostly grain alcohol. Then they're using some barley whiskey, you know, copper pot, still more high quality whiskey to give it the flavor. And then they're adding the flavorings, kind of like American blended whiskey, except there in Canada, they have to age the grain alcohol for 3 years. In America, they don't have to age it at all. It's probably being aged in wooden vessels because they got to store it somewhere. Okay. There is a rule about that. Now, I did read that Tax and Trade Bureau website. It has to be stored in wood, grain, neutral spirits, neutral grain spirits, however you want to say it. Well, if you're storing it, it's aging, ain't it? But of course, you may only be storing it for a week. It just depends. Just a commodity like a bag of sugar or a canister of salt. You know, that's what the grain spirits. That's the filler. And Scotch whiskey and Irish whiskey. But like I say, it has to be aged. The grain spirits. And in America, it doesn't. It may be, doesn't have to be. Okay. But you're dealing with the same theoretics. A lot of people think it's different, but it isn't. Not really. Not in a practical sense, it isn't. Okay. This one does smell like it might be older. Now, you notice I didn't mention anything about wood, oak. Yeah, you know why? Because I'm not picking that up. No charcoal, nothing like that. You can just toss that out. That's not a factor here. Now, I have a lot of bourbons coming up. Then when you do the bourbon, you get the heavy corn and the oak and the char. Okay. All right. Aroma, which one wins? It's a tie. I mean, if you prefer the honeycomb, fine, then that's better for you. If you prefer more of the corn grits, yellow corn grits, sweet corn, that's better for you. Price $10.99. I paid $10.99 for each bottle, so that's a tie. All right. I don't know what it is in your area. I can only speak to what I paid. And since it seemed like it's a perpetual sale, I'm not even going to talk about what's a price. It's a sale price. I can't say that. J. Pete Live says Crown Royal equals Canadian Hunter. Wait a minute. You're telling me that Canadian Hunter, that's $8.99 a bottle, is as good as Crown Royal, that's $22.99? That seems far-fetched, but then, of course, I've never actually had Crown Royal. I've taken a sip of it. One time at bingo, I took a sip and I thought, oh, that's pretty good, but I never really got a bottle and started drinking it and tasting it and sitting on it, thinking on it, doing beer reviews, whiskey reviews, taste challenges. But I plan to do that soon. But that would be a revolutionary thing, that Canadian Hunter would be as good as Crown Royal. And they were actually both started by the same company. Crown Royal in 1939, Seagram's Crown Royal, and Seagram's Canadian Hunter, 1984. Yes, yes, yes. Neither owned by Seagram's anymore since the company no longer exists. Taste time. Uh-oh. Canadian Hunter is made by them, I think, if you mix it for sure, but it's pretty good, to be honest. Well, actually, Crown Royal is made by Diageo in 2019, and Canadian Hunter was sold to Sazerac in 1989. Okay, so they've been split in different companies for 30 years, actually. 30 years. It's been 30 years. He says, oh. All right, so taste. However, who's to say if Hunter's not coming from that distillery, Crown Royal Distillery? I know Crown Royal comes from one distillery in Canada, and they only have 50 employees. But they may, I doubt it, that's such a popular whiskey. I'm saying they may have some excess capacity where they can produce other whiskeys on contract for people. Seems like they wouldn't, but they might. I don't know. They don't tell you anything. Get on the website, it won't tell you anything like that. No companies tell you that. They're very careful about talking. They don't want to talk about contract distilling. There's only like 8 big distilleries in Canada. I think it's 8. Like, that's where 99% of all the whiskey comes from. There's some little craft distilleries, but there's no way they can produce anywhere close to what a mass market would want. From what I was reading, they trade whiskey with each other. This is a common practice in America as well. So people that get fixated or hung up on a certain distillery is kind of ridiculous, they say, because it's being traded all the time. So it may be bottled there, but they're just saying don't waste time getting caught up on that. Just taste what you're getting out the bottle and enjoy it or whatever, because they trade. Now, do they trade beer? I would doubt that. That seems like that would be hard to do, but they certainly blend it. Okay, even Budweiser does that. Very interesting in the taste. Very interesting. That's got to be the Black Velvet over there, and I'm gonna tell you why. The Black Velvet Reserve. I'm from Virginia, and I used to go to Franklin County and get that White Lightning. I'm in Texas now, though, so I drink tequila and rum. Yeah, I do rum tastings too. I might do a taste challenge today for the Wednesday slot. I might do Castillo Silver Rum versus Caliber Caribbean White. Yep, true story. See that Black Velvet? It's kind of grating. It's harsh. It's grain. It's like heavy grain, meaning what? Corn, maybe some wheat, and rye, and of course that barley whiskey. You know what I'm saying? Like in Scotland, they call it single malt whiskey. Malt whiskey, I mean to say, like from barley malt. But it's just, I don't know. Some people love this stuff, this Black Velvet Reserve. I had people say that's my favorite, and I love it now, which is fine. You should drink whatever you like. I'm not one of these people that's snooty and look down on what people drink. I used to be for about 2 years, 96, 97, 98, 96 to 98. Then I realized that's stupid. You don't need to be a beer missionary. People drink Coors Light and they're happy with it. Fine. They don't want to deviate. Fine. You don't have to keep trying to introduce them. Say, try this porter, try this stuff. They don't want to drink it. Okay. This amber lager. They're not interested. It's got a cutting way about it. To me, it's harsh. They tell me how luxuriously smooth as silk and all this stuff, smooth as velvet and all. Well, okay, you say so. I don't see that, but let's go over here. It's a lot smoother and it's only 3 years old. I mean, it tastes younger, like it's more, how you say it, like fresh or something, young, green, whatever. But it's oh, it's grain now. Let's not get too off detached from reality. It is, but there's that underlying like honeycomb. Oh man, let me tell you, if you set on these whiskeys, no wait, a whiskey sets, a person sits. If you sit on these whiskeys enough, like drinking it, thinking it, think on it, are you drinking them? They always start to bring out the grain. It always, the body will come out. You know what I mean? The top side flavor will dissipate, and then the underneath, like the Blue Oyster Cult 1998, the power underneath, the power underneath, the power underneath. So that's what happens, see. Get that with Scotch. And it's funny how that Scotch will develop like that. The blended Scotch, that body will come out. And it's like this Canadian whiskey. Now, the American blended whiskeys, they're worse because the body comes out and it's usually like some kind of, off the wall flavor, like honeydew melon. Is like, why would grain taste like a honeydew melon? It shouldn't. I think they're putting really reject stuff to make these American blenders. Like, can't sell this, but we ain't wasting it. Sell it to them down the road. They'll make Clubhouse blended whiskey. Those old bums will drink it. You say, that sounds terrible for you to say that. Yeah, but that's probably what they're thinking. Like Beam-Suntory. You really think they're using the best Jim Beam whiskey to make Beam-Suntory? Not, what am I saying? I must have woken up too late, too early. I can't even think straight. Where do I go? Who do I turn to? No, the Beam's 8-star. Yeah, right. They're taking their best stuff to make Beam's 8-star, and they're selling it for $16.99 a half gallon, 1.75 liter. No, they're not. They're taking their worst stuff is what they're doing, and they're making it, and they're aging only 2 years. You know that. Come on. What is going into Beam's 8-star? Well, like I just said, probably stuff that is like inferior some kind of way, like it didn't come out right. So they putting it in there. I don't think that's what's happening with these two. I just don't think they're that good. Are they horrible? No, not horrible. Would I recommend them? Only as a $10.99 whiskey. Like if you just say, oh, I'm cheap, I don't pay a lot for whiskey. What's a cheap one I can drink? Well, here's two choices. Be fine. If you say, I'm just going to mix them with Coke anyway. I don't care. I'm going to Winn-Dixie and buy some store brand soft drink. Be ideal for that. Ideal. You know, now if you want to pay extra and get the Mexican Coca-Cola made with the cane sugar or the throwback Pepsi, it's going to cost you twice as much. And it's going to have a much better flavor. Or you get that Texas Dr. Pepper made, you know, one from Texas that's made with the cane sugar. Well, then maybe you want to get a better quality whiskey to go with it. Who wins here? Oh, well, I guess, see, if you sit on them too long, it's hard to say because they become so identical. You know what I mean? Because the grain comes out. Now, if you love the taste of corn, then fine. You got what you wanted, man, because you're drinking corn whiskey essentially with some topside additives. Now the alcohol flavor is starting to come out. Whoa, awa chihuahua. It's a tie. I mean, honestly, it's a tie on price, it's a tie on aroma, and it's a tie on flavor. And that's an indictment against Black Velvet 8-year. Why? Because this age, 8 years, and you telling me it doesn't taste any better than a 3-year age Canadian whiskey? That is what I'm saying. I'm not seeing any benefit from the 8 years. Now that's me. You might be a real good whiskey taster and you could pick up all kind of things that I'm missing, which would be a good idea for you to do the exercise. But let's see, which do I think? I think this is the Black Velvet. So if it says W, then I know it's not, because it'll be for Windsor. I can't see it. Oh, yep. All right. I did it. 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 Oh, I think I've gotten it correct 5 out of the last 6 times. If I'm calculating, I didn't write it down. I'm just thinking in my head. Yeah. Well, 5 out of the last 6, I believe I've gotten it correct. You might think, oh, you're pitiful, pathetic, horrible, and weak because you can't tell these whiskeys apart. It's a lot more difficult than you might first believe. This is a very difficult thing when you're doing it blind. It's a blind taste test. Now, I've always thrown out that challenge. Like, if you're a great expert, then let's see it. You know what I'm saying? I need the proof. You get these people on the internet that use some alias name, Jaja Mike 360, got a picture of Scooby-Doo telling everybody what they need to do. You know, let me tell you what you need to do. I know about whiskey. I work with whiskey. Senator, you're no whiskey and all of this. It's like, well, who are you? Well, you don't need to know that. I can't reveal my identity. Okay. Well, if you're such a great expert, show your real face and get on here and do some blind taste tests. You know, don't talk it, walk it. Let's walk the walk instead of talking the talk. But they're not willing to do that, you know, because probably an 11-year-old pretending to be an adult. Who knows who they are, right? But that's the nature of social media. You get these anonymous experts. And they go from channel to channel, telling everybody how no good they are. Well, I would say that this was fascinating, but it wasn't really. It was just interesting in a way because 2 blended Canadian whiskeys, low priced, not the bottom. You can go cheaper than this, believe me or not believe me. But nothing remarkable or memorable except for that harsh kind of grating feeling from the so-called super smooth Black Velvet. They're saying super smooth. I'm not seeing it, but sorry, Constellation Brands. I like your Taylor wines. Well, the ones you used to make that you sold off to E&J Gallo. Taylor wine, good stuff. Your Black Velvet, I won't repurchase it. No way. Don't hate it, but don't like it enough to repurchase it. Windsor Canadian. I had some people say they drank it all the time and they would love me to review it and they couldn't wait. And that was their thing. That's their favorite Canadian whiskey. Well, it's fine. I'm not ripping on it. I'm just saying, to me, it's kind of ordinary. And I don't think it's any better. It's actually probably not as good as Canadian Limited or Rich and Rare or Rich and Rare Reserve or even Caliber or any of those Buffalo Trace Sazerac Canadian brands. Sorry. But I think when people recommend me to review a whiskey, they want an honest review, right? They don't want me to just say, well, since the people watching like it, I'm obligated to say I like it. I don't think any viewer, any reasonable viewer would want that. You know, you'd have to be kind of screwball if you'd want that, right? What would be the purpose of that? If I watch somebody's beer review, I want an honest review. If they don't like it, then I want them to say it. And if it's my favorite beer, I'm not going to get hurt and say, I don't like him anymore because he talked bad about my favorite beer. He doesn't know beer. No, I don't operate that way. All right. And I hope you don't either. Well, anyway, this was interesting enough. I think if I do the rum taste challenge later today, that'll be about the same level as this. Kind of like semi-interesting. All right. So thanks for watching this video production. And that's it. See you later on.